Okay, this lecture is going to be about keystone species, which is actually in our chapter 4. The second part of this PDF file deals with chapter 5 and populations, and that'll be a separate lecture. Okay, the location of the ecosystem we're going to talk about is the Aleutian Islands, which are near Alaska. And we're going to be talking about the sea otter population around the Aleutian Islands. So you can see their population was almost increasing exponentially until the mid-1980s. And then those pink triangles, you can see it's dropped dramatically since then. Why? With your group, discuss as many reasons that you can think of that might be causing the sea otter population decline. Come up with a few ideas. Okay, if you and your partner at this point don't have a few ideas, go ahead and pause the video and continue getting ideas, and then you can restart. First clue, there are killer whales near the Aleutian Islands. And here's just another chart, the sea otter abundance, the percentages around the Aleutian Islands, and it's each island broken down to the percentage of the sea otters over time. But it doesn't matter which island you are near, the population has declined a lot. Just some more charts, the number of sea otters counted. This is from about 93 to 97. And you can actually see the months in year for 95, 96, 97, July, June, and August, and 2 different islands. So really that Kaluk Bay has really been hit. Killer whale prey in the Aleutian Islands. They prey on seals, sea lions, sea otters, other whales, okay, if you were a killer whale, with your partners, rank the order of the 3 prey species that you would prefer to eat. Give a reasoning for your ranking. Well, there's seals, sea lions, sea otters, and possibly other whales. So there's actually kind of 4 options to pick from. With your partner, rank the order of those 3 that you'd prefer to eat. Okay, if you haven't made your decisions, go ahead and pause the video until you have. Okay, so here's a chart: the great whales, the seals, the sea lions, and the sea otters from about the 1950s, 60s to the year 2000. So like I said earlier, the killer whales, these are kind of their prey. There's great whales, there's the harbor seals, the stellar sea lions, and then the sea otters. The great whale had made great strides, and then their numbers have declined. The seals, the sea lions, and the sea otters, numbers have declined dramatically. Here is a picture of a kelp forest. Just like the forest here on land, the kelp forest, it produces oxygen for the water. Animals have a place to live. That could be their habitat. They can hide. They can find food. It's a very important part of the ecosystem. And there is a sea urchin. So what does this the sea otters, the sea urchins, and this kelp forest, and the killer whales all have to do with each other? There's the sea otter with its little sea urchin. There's another picture of the sea otter and the sea urchin. Who cares if the otters go extinct? With your partners, make a prediction about what will happen to the kelp forest of the Aleutian Island habitat if the sea otters become extinct. If you need to, go ahead and pause the video until you come up with an idea. This picture shows a kelp forest that's not doing very well. It's mostly dead. Less kelp forest, less species in the area because there's less oxygen, less food, less places to hide. And here is a completely dead kelp forest, and look at the number of sea urchins living there. Now here's a nice food chain. The killer whales do feed on the sea otters. The sea otters feed on the sea urchins. The sea urchins feed on the kelp. So within this food chain, you get rid of the sea otters. What do you think is going to happen to the sea urchin population? With your partner, sum everything up. What will eventually happen to all the members of this ecosystem if the sea otters become extinct? If you've not come up with an idea, go ahead and pause the video. Hopefully you came to the conclusion that the killer whales are eating the sea otters. The sea otter population has gone down. The sea otters then are not there to feed on the sea urchin to keep the sea urchin population in check. The sea urchin population has increased dramatically. And since the sea urchins feed on the kelp forest, there's a lot more sea urchins. They are totally destroying these kelp forests, which then the whole biomass of the ecosystem goes down because so many animals rely on the kelp forest for many different things, like I said, the food, to hide, it could producing the oxygen for the atmosphere, and all those animals hiding there. That means it's a lot more. There's a lot more food. So the killing off of the kelp forest has been a very bad thing near the Aleutian Islands. The sea otter is then considered a keystone species. And a keystone species is a species that can dramatically affect an area if something happens to it. So the sea otter is the keystone species in the Aleutian Islands.